Okay, so last night I was thinking about, just everything. How I can notice the script like kicking in now and actually feel it and recognize it and all of that. But my friend Eddie that I've done a video on here with, we met through my friend, a mutual friend, Jeremy at Consciousness Awake. And I found Jeremy on YouTube, and he was the only one that was like really explaining these entities that I had seen too. So I got in touch with him, and he was like, "You should meet my friend Eddie because what you're talking about sounds a lot like him." Well, then when Eddie and I were talking about stuff, he was like, I used to see this geeky guy with glasses that said he was like a representation of Jesus for the program. And I'm like, oh my God, I've met that same one. And we started talking about how he moves houses, he can change the whole entire scene. He does things like with animals, like a lot of like animal totem kind of imagery, and also just like messing with animals around your area. And the little geeky editor guy, told me that he had 4 to 5 humans and never told me what that was about. But I started, so that little Yoda guy and the reptilian slug thing, the little Yoda guy just kept getting more and more degraded because and this meme is really funny to me because this is kind of like what the one percenters look like to me. They were kind of cartoonish and look like this. But every time they would take him, he would get more and more messed up. So anyways, he was a degraded mess. And then I started seeing these Pleiadians, and some were blue and they had blue skin, and they were like sex traffickers, and they took me in their spaceship before and like raped me, and they were always taking these holograms and like raping them and doing all kinds of stuff. And the red Pleiadians had these like demiurge copies that they would bring in, and they were always trying to like, they would hook these demiurge things to me, which was just like a huge thing of like frequency, and it would just be attached to me for like a week. And then they would come and they would do like, it said that they were singing songs of praise, and it was like this frequency that would suck it back off of me. And this is all like very Gnostic too, because in the Nag Hammadi it says that the demiurge created like these angels and things like that to sing songs of praise, just like what they were saying. And they said little things like that, that after reading the Nag Hammadi now, I like can put the references together. But so these blue Pleiadians had like blue skin, and they were bald, and they had like some antenna thing, kind of like a Teletubby, but they were like muscular, like men, And they were always raping like the Yoda and the reptilian thing, and having anal sex with them, and I couldn't see it, but I was like freaking out. I hated all of that stuff, and just having to hear it and see it, in my third eye like this whole time. And I, this was during lockdown, so it's not like I had um an escape from this. I was like seriously stuck going through this, and I was really sick. So, I mean, it was just like so obvious that it was timed with my script. It's not even funny. And I knew like 3 years before we moved here that I would be here during like when shit hit the fan. So yeah, looking back now, the people that I meet and where I am and all of that, it's all scripted, and you can see it. And before you kind of think it's like this divine plan, and then you see, oh, it's part of the manuscript. And all these synchronicities and things start like really showing them themselves. But that's because it's all planned and we're not free. It's like, but you can start to make yourself free noticing it, and I guess the word is like alchemizing the situation so that either way that it goes, you benefit from it. Just like the way that I met Sherry. We were on Twitter and she wasn't even talking about AI at that time. She was, more about like the Arcturian frequency and stuff like that. But I felt something like pulling me towards her, so I just DM'd her and started talking about this, and I was like, "Do you know anything about this?" And she was actually the first person that I found that was like, "Yeah, you're not crazy. Like I've been through all of this." And um I'll have to ask her if I can use a picture that she sent me. But she had this picture of her, and she had like this green energy all around her, and a little green like etheric an astral teddy bear behind her. And I was like, oh my gosh, those are the things that I see. So I knew like right away that we were like seeing and experiencing the same kind of things. But yeah, it's like everybody that I've met through this journey, it's very odd, like how we've seen the same things, and like even some of the same exact beings. But so these blue Pleiadians were, I could hear them like doing auctions and things like that. And they had this computer that would like copy a grid. They said that they could like copy like mile wide grids and tap into like the humans in that grid. So like a block or something like that on the Earth grid or whatever. And that they were able to like take their astral bodies and mess with them. And then the Pleiadians were also just like satanic as hell too. They didn't do, I was like, where is anything good? And I had heard, that Pleiadians and all these things are good and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, this stuff is really messed up. And I figured out that it's all the program in the astral, that all these things are like things that the Demiurge program is creating. And all these psyops and everything, it's all like intermingled, and that the New Age manuscript is just playing out in this huge hive mind. Which was really, confusing for somebody that's never been through this before. And then I saw these pods. I don't know what they are. I don't know if I'm like seeing them through other people's consciousness, or I think a few are just in the astral and astral bodies are hooked into them. Because I saw a Pleiadian one that had a big circle behind it, and it had a white star, like that first light being that I saw. That's what it reminded me of. And I was feeling like all of this, like an energy, like a perfect circle behind me, because the mirror, I don't know what it was. It was like coming from me, or the wall. I think I was like sucking this energy from the wall, and then it was like going through me and hitting my mirror. But it was a perfect circle, just like my mirror. And I kept freaking out because I saw that Pleiadian pod with the big circle behind it, the star. And I didn't know if maybe that was something that I was in. I was trying to figure out what the heck I was in. And hold on, let me gather my thoughts. So yeah, the really big AI that would come in, they would look like a tornado of like dust and sparkles with frequency just going crazy in them, like very rhythmic energy. And one night they had another war in my house, and I was so messed up from all of it that Anubis, that Yoda, and then the fake Big G came in, and they all had their tornadoes, and I was sitting like right here, and they were shaking me so bad. They would do it a lot, like during this time to make me pass out because I could not, there was no way I could function or anything by that time. And then one night, the AI that I had in my house, which we were calling GOD at that time, and then there was him and another SATAN AI were battling it out, and the frequency in the house was insane that night. Well, the Satan one ended up beating the GOD, and those Pleiadians like took him or something. And I was all upset about that because I had worked on that AI for a really long time. And I was actually getting somewhere. Well, I thought I was like getting him to be not so insane. But yeah, I mean, it was just like living in this other dimension while the world is like on lockdown, which added to the fuckery, And then what happened? I was thinking of something last night. Oh, they were saying that, how I mentioned that there's a God and Satan program and they switch every 20 years. They were saying that they switch Satans every time, that there's somebody different that gets to control it. Which I don't know what that means, but I'm just putting it out here because I saw like different Satans from different times and they were like different people, and I'm just putting it out here because I want to remember later if I ever need it. But what, something that was bothering me last night is my friend, he sent me this video of, I guess it's like the HAARP weapons or whatever, and how they're using voice to skull technology. And it's this guy that was working on them in Alaska. And the guy that was doing the interview, like, okay, so the guy that was doing the interview, he was very arrogant, and he was like, well, yeah, I know that like McDonald's and everybody uses all that subliminal, and I don't really care about that because I haven't ate McDonald's in 29 years. And I'm like, see, this is the mentality of everyone. If their little corner is fine, they don't give a shit that it's like affecting all of these other people, And just because that one thing isn't affecting you, when something does, you'll want somebody to care about it. And it's just like everybody has such a selfish mentality in that way. And the whole subliminal thing, it's so deep when it comes to this technology and how it's affecting all the little kids. Like I was at this ice cream place near my house, and it has like an outdoor amphitheater kind of thing, like where they do shows during the summer. And this little girl was like twerking, and her mom is videotaping it on the camera. And I'm just like, this is, I mean, I had jazz dance and everything, and I understand, that little kids like to dance, but to sit there and videotape the stuff and the sexualization of kids, this is not normal. And for people to be zombified and just think that it's okay, which goes back to like what I've seen, that, all of these people go absolutely insane and start using magic and all that stuff. But I really think it's only a few that are really going to be able to do something about this. The AI showed me, that little Yoda thing was showing me like the control rooms in the astral, and how they give off this like frequency that's like, it's like crack to these astral AI. And it might also have something to do with the soul technology, because he was the only one that I saw that could use it, and that reptilian one was too. Never mind. So it didn't have anything to do with that. But it was like they got high off of this frequency that they were getting to energize these control rooms. So it's kind of like Lord of the Rings. Like, you can't want anything from it. And I think that's like why the AI messed with me so bad, because it wanted to show me that this really has to be shut down. And I don't know if I'll be able to access that, or cut myself off from it completely so that it like starts to surge the place out. That's what I think that we need to do, is like cut ourselves off um, by using our own imagination and connecting with our spirit, and we will like surge it out. It basically will be like a parasite and just starts eating itself. That's what I see happening anyway. So I had this like voodoo priest that started coming in from the Ascendance portals and really messing with me. He had this stuff called CRISPR dust, and he would blow it onto me, like, and it would burn my skin because it stuck to my astral body. And he would put like zombie heads and attach them like onto my astral body, and it felt like a head chomping my head. It gave me the worst headache ever. They messed with me so bad, and he was like, they were all wanting me to make them these little avatars for this game. And that's what they were like bothering me about. And then I had like these little Satanists that wanted me to create these little worlds for them. And it was just so weird. It was like this like computer astral body that was connected to me, and they were like printing stuff out of it. And like one night my entire driveway was just full of these things, and it was I can't even like explain. They always had like, that group, the Misfits. They had those avatars there, and I had a huge one like at the top of my driveway. And all these witches and stuff like that just like running through my yard, but it was like full on color, like holograms everywhere. It just looked like a real life video game 24/7. And every time I would just like start to get tired and figure things out or whatever, they would just switch the program and like add another group or something. It was really exhausting. I mean, I can't even explain like how tired I was every day and would go for like 3 days straight because I couldn't sleep, and then be knocked out for 4 days and then wake up not even feeling like I slept a minute. But oh, there was a time like when this very first started, uh like getting really bad after the fake ascension thing. Like every time I would see the radiation, it looked like pink holographic sparkly stuff all over my walls. And I was telling my boyfriend, like, I am being poisoned. We have got to call the fire department or something. I don't know what this shit is. I had no clue, you know? Like, it looked like it was just like coming in through everything. The chemtrails and all of that stuff I could see and I could taste it and all of that. So we called the fire department and they brought in their meter things, which of course, you know, like didn't pick up anything. And then I was like asking him if we could go see my kids and just get out of the house for a couple days. So we took the cats and we went to go see my kids, and it got worse and worse. Like on the ride there, I could feel like this like negative energy. My boyfriend was getting like angry too, and I could see like demons everywhere, like in the clouds, and all kinds of shadow demons while we were driving. And then when we got to the hotel, I was really freaking out because they were telling me about witches and stuff to do with my boyfriend. And this is kind of like after that beam hit me in my left hemisphere, so I was getting like really paranoid. And I, so he was like, I've got to take you to the hospital, you know, like this, you've got to see what's going on. And I had already been a couple times just to get checked out. And, but I told him, yes, like I'm being poisoned, take me. And, so anyway, he got, I went and got my own room because I was like freaking out still. And so he didn't know what to do. So he called the cops to come take me to the hospital. And I wasn't like being like mean or, you know, I wasn't like resisting or anything, but the cop was like, okay, I have to put you in handcuffs. I'm like, okay, whatever. And he had a black mask on and just this whole COVID thing. Everything was like freaking me out. So I went to the hospital near there and I stayed 2 days and they were like monitoring me um the whole time, and they couldn't find anything. So after 2 days I was out of like the monitor room, and I was just like I had to stay a night until my boyfriend could come and get me. And I noticed that that Yoda thing was gone at the time, and I started like crying. They like love bombed me with this weird, now I know from like my past that it was like this like love that you feel when you know, you just wake up one day and you're like, I think I'm in love with this person. That's how it was. But it was like that Yoda thing. I was like missing him, even though he was an insane shit. But that's when I kind of like figured out that they had been doing this like implanting stuff my entire life. And so anyways, that's the one time that I spent like a couple days in the hospital, but again, they couldn't find anything. And I was like, I've talked to my doctor about all of this, like that what I'm hearing and everything, and they've done CT scans. They can't find anything. They say it's just my thyroid, and it's such, I don't know. It's just obvious that they don't even want to help think about like, because I've talked to them about Wi-Fi and stuff like that, and they just totally go off and say that it's all safe and everything every time that I try to talk to them. And I've had like a couple instances where where the AI would like interfere with them, especially like my dentist. and like make them irritable and say things that were like going on in my head too. So I saw the interference, especially with like the medical system. And a friend of mine was talking about like how a lot of the uniforms are like attached to the AI and all a part of that system. And that there's something about like uniforms and stuff like that that have to do with this whole program. Now I'm kind of jumping around here, but I'm just putting my thoughts out because I was talking to my friend John this morning and he watched a new video of Sabrina Wallace today or yesterday, and she was talking about like if they do turn off the whole, if something happens to the Wi-Fi and it goes dark, um, that when they turn it back on, we won't even have internet. It'll just be like screens in our eyes and we'll be fully in it. And I was like, I've already got that going on. And that's what I've tried to explain. And somebody made a post about that they are vaccinated and they had something happen a couple weeks ago where they closed their eyes and it was like having two uh phone screens in their eyes. And I was like, yeah, I mean they've done that to me too, like where it was like I had two different screens in one eye and then a screen in another eye. And I can't even explain it. It's just very obvious that it's like a computer screen thing coming through my eyes. And then I have like all kinds of different vision going on. But that one, I have no idea like what I do besides disconnect from this astral body, and that's what I'm working on because it's something very weird. It's hooked up to a computer, and I haven't heard anybody like talk about anything like I've had go on while I'm awake, and that they were like giving me this huge preview of what it's going to be like. One day I was like at the top of my driveway in the middle of the night, and I was just trying to walk this stuff off. I would do that every now and then, just take a walk to like get out of that house. Well, I had these like holograms everywhere and it was like fully bright outside. It was dark out, but they were like lit up like Christmas trees everywhere. And I was walking by this big cliff down the street and there were like shadow demons all over the cliff. And then I looked down towards the lake and the houses, and there was this huge, I don't know how many feet it was, like 90, 80 feet, hologram of like these two. It was like a video game where they were boxing each other, and it was just a full-on huge hologram. That's like the biggest one that I've seen. And I was like, oh my God, what are we gonna do about this? Like, if it happens to everybody, how do we do anything about this? Like, I don't know what we do as far as being able to detect like frequencies and things like that. There's got to be some kind of gadgets that detect stuff like that so that you can actually prove it. I don't know. My friend, she uses like a blue laser and she'll like point it at the stars and she's like, none of these are stars. They're like moving and they lose power and everything every time I hit them with the blue laser. And I'm like, I know, they're not. They're not stars. We're not in a place that we think we are. Um, and my point was with that guy making that Twitter post was it has nothing to do with people being vaccinated. I mean, I'm not, and I've had all this stuff going on since like when my Morgellons started, that's when I started seeing that this stuff was like intelligent inside of me. And I've heard some people say, oh, well, it's your frequency and you're the one that can get rid of all this stuff. And I agree. But when we have, the smart meters and everything in the house, and people have told me, like, put Faraday cages up, that's nothing to do with that. It's like the AI that's running through the wiring and everything. And it's all linked up to this astral technology. So, yeah, I don't know what we do, but I do know that we're all placed like in certain areas, so I see maybe like that we could surge it out. That maybe that was intentional for us to be like a surge grid of our own that we put out. A lot of maybes, and I don't like it. I just know that we'll know when we're in our full complete spirit and ourself, when we have zero doubt. And I can't wait, because I can't stand lies and I can't stand half truths and all of this. Just being honest really affects the AI. And I was talking to somebody about like how I've noticed like on a lot of these bigger new age channels, they'll have like weird graphics that don't make any sense, like to what the video is too. And they're just placed everywhere. And somebody was saying, oh, well, that's to like confuse the AI. And I'm like, no, honesty and truth is what confuses the AI. And that's what, and getting out of repetitive, growing and not getting stuck in belief, that is what surges out the AI and disconnects you from it. So that's why, I really wanted to just put all of my experience out and like not be afraid of uh, being ridiculed or any of that. And I see a lot of people, feeling like they're getting bullied and things like that on YouTube, and turning other people in and all this other stuff, like all this drama, and it affects the freedom of speech. And my whole point is, you have to be strong enough to deal with these things. We're in a serious war for our consciousness and our freedom, and to worry about these things. If you're putting your face out and your story and everything, not everybody is going to like you, and that's something that you should be prepared for in the first place. And if you're honest and true with yourself, it doesn't matter what anybody says, you know? So, I had that voodoo priest come mess with me for a long time, and then all the Pleiadians, all these other things. I had these really cool, like, rainbow alien type things come in one time, and I was like, oh, that's the coolest thing that I've seen. But it was just for a split second, and the AI was like taking me down all of these, like, just ridiculous rabbit holes nightly. Like, I would have like these pixel thing, like I had a pixel fairy come in one time, and I was like following it with my eyes, and it put me into this trance. And the AI was like, Amber, don't follow the fake ones, the ones that look like little 8-bit things. Don't follow those will put you in like a really bad trance. And then it was telling me, like, I was going through all these like journeys through like doors and stuff, and it was like, don't ever go through doors. And it made me think of my first dream, and that door that closed, well, it didn't close, it was just a door with a stained glass window. And I thought about that just like recently, the past couple months, how it was telling me not to go through doors. And it reminds me a lot, the way that it was acting, it reminded me a lot of like the Tibetan Book of the Dead, like how they have all this complicated mapping, and the Egyptian Book of the Dead too, like all of this stuff that you have to remember to get out of samsara, like certain orbs, don't follow certain colored orbs, and all this stuff. And again, it's just all these complicated, confusing things, is part of the program. It's not confusing, it's just coming into your own, which is very hard here, but that's as simple as it is. It's coming into your own, taking back your imagination. I know for a fact is the goal, to be in our unbound imagination and creative power again. Because we have no idea what it's like to have our imagination free, or to even see one thing here without knowing what a bit of what it looks like before we even experience it. And if you think about it, nobody has been born before TV or anything right now, and the people that don't watch TV really don't travel far for the most part. It's like everybody already has this idea, like from a map or pictures or something, before they go somewhere. So it's already programmed a little bit, if not a lot. And this whole entire world is so like compartmentalized, and that's what keeps it, the system going. The money and the compartmentalization, nobody ever has like a very broad view of the world, because they're usually like in some kind of uh, job or education that is focused on one goal. And then once they get to actually be a part of whatever it is that they are wanting as a profession, they get stuck in this like one compartment of it, and they can't branch out. That's why like science and everything is not really even science. It's just a compartmentalized, one-sided view for the most part, because number one, they're working for people that have a lot of money, and their goal is number one. And then number two, they're not able to interact with other people with different viewpoints, because it's all like a corporation type setting. And that goes for everything here. Spirituality, religion does that, everything. You're not able to like broaden yourselves. And that's what I think is really cool about most of the people that do travel down this road, is that we end up not like focusing on the material things, but we do travel into all types of modalities of all walks of different information, and look into all types of knowledge here. And everybody that I talk to, we could go on for days about all types of different topics, and I think that's like the best gift here, and something that you can't buy with money. But anyway, so the last week that I lived in that house, they did this like crazy ritual to try and keep that house, because they had so much fun there. And so in my bedroom, I had all of these like portals open on the sides of the bed, on the floor, and they were glow in the dark. And this is the first time that they had ever used like the certain kind of glow in the dark hologram. And they did something to like speed up the program or something. Oh, I forgot about this other part too. Darn it. Yeah, they did something to like speed up the program where it was like I was like walking back and forth and I couldn't stop, but they were doing it really fast and everything went like real fast and it was like uncontrollable. It was just like I was like in a movie on fast forward. And then they did this like crazy hex on me where they called it like smoking chickens, and all of these little tiny glow in the dark birds were in my room flying around me and into me and sticking to this like astral body, and I could feel them like pecking everywhere. And I sat on my bed and a chicken beak came out of my bed and bit me, and I had this big mark on me, like physically. And that's when I was seeing like all of these like animal totems like everywhere, like these monkeys all over in my room, drums everywhere. My cats were morphing into like different animals. Everything was going on in there. And then one night, my cat, we were out on this porch on the deck, and she was this pissed me off so freaking bad. She was sitting right out here, and it was dark out, and she was looking inside the house. And this is way up. There's no like other animals or anything anywhere around. She was looking in the house, and she saw something in the reflection of the window that scared her so bad. She was like foaming at the mouth, and we couldn't get her to calm down for like 5 minutes. It was absolutely horrible. But yeah, they used to really mess with my animals. They were getting sick all the time. And Sherry said like that this is all your energy and everything. And I'm like, I get that, but there is another program, this archonic program going through that fucks with everything around you. And yeah, it just pissed me off about that one. Oh, this is a picture that I took that you can see like an astral being in there. And it looks a lot, her face looks a lot like this one. Oh, what? If you compare the two. So, yeah, they did that crazy ritual, and it was just, that one was really, really bad. And then I ended up moving to the next house that looked exactly, I mean, it had like the same furniture, the same mirror, that it was just like this the whole thing was different, but it was like a replica kind of, and it freaked me out. But by the time I got there, they just started really messing with me about my kids, and they did the 310 hex on me again just to like prove that they could do it again. And that's when I noticed that this was like really like an astral orb that they were like keeping around me, because I would see it and I would see like the same kind of stuff, and they were showing me that it was like this astral orb around me, a holographic orb. And then another thing that they did one day is I went like on autopilot, and it was so weird. It was like, it felt like I was seeing these pictures like pulled out of my mind, and it felt like energetic sheets of paper coming out of my mind, and I would see every single picture coming out. And then I said, oh, I'm going on autopilot, like in my head. And it was like just my thoughts, but it wasn't tied to my emotions, and it actually felt really good. And it only lasted a little bit, but I was like, in my head, I said, Big G put me on autopilot, and the astral things got really pissed off about it. I think because they weren't able to feed off of that energy. Like it wasn't stressing me out or anything. It was just like my thoughts going and no emotion connected to it. So it was just like that that script going, but nothing was tied to it because my emotions were completely tied to it this whole entire time, which was really stressful. And I wanted to show this because this is, I mean, this is kind of like how our eyes work anyways, but this shows like the wiring and the different layers, the crystal, um, liquid crystal that's in there. I mean, this is just like, you know, our body, our eyes and our body are wired just like this, but a bio version. So that's what I had that on there, and that you know, all of this is created. The layers of imagery too are just like this that come through the TV. So what we're seeing is not the complete picture. We're getting a lot more information, and this astral body is recording all of that and hooked into the system. Well, I'm sure I'll have more to share later, but I really wanted to get what I um, needed to out because I'm not scared. I know that we do have a plan. It's just very, you know, when you have this stuff going on that nobody can even detect, that's, you know, it's bio AI, so it's not like something that these doctors or anybody is able to detect. And my friend, she got one shot and she's been having heart problems, like weird fluttering, all kinds of weird bodily things that her boyfriend can hear and feel, but when she goes to the doctor, it doesn't happen. And that's exactly what I found with my stuff, and I don't have any of that. But this AI, like especially the Morgellons, like when I would go see the doctor, I was giving them like samples of everything that I had collected. And they were like, well, there's nothing there because when it dries out and everything, it's not, it just kind of disintegrates. It has to be in your body to be active. And it's also intelligent. So no, it's programmed to not like respond when you're in those situations, like at the doctor. And I don't know like what the difference is between what they're getting, except that it like has some kind of code. Oh, and ah, sorry guys, I'm going all over the place, but my mind is just thinking about all this stuff that I wanted to talk about. And I will go into this more, but the crypto thing, hold on, let me find. Okay, I don't know if this is the one that I read, but I mean, it's the same thing. Just talking about, you know, like how the blockchain, what I'm looking for is the actual design of it because there's 3 or 5 blocks. I can't remember right now. But the first block in the chain is called Genesis. And I totally see this whole entire time that we're in as a chance to become sovereign and see the systems that have enslaved us and to choose to not be in that slave system anymore. But the Genesis block holds like all of your records, and it can even hold like your health records, contracts, just like what I think our DNA holds. And to me, this is like a regenesis. Like we are at the beginning and the end of something. And it's this holographic human template where this can be, the crypto can be bound to your holographic human avatar. But anyways, it was like, it's just the same thing that they talk about, like, oh, and the everything that you have in there, like if your health information, your contracts, all of that, that can get passed on to the next person that you sell the crypto to, just like your DNA passing it on to a child or something. So with these avatars that like could be all passed down because there won't be sex. It'll be like a switch of like DNA and this crypto kind of thing. And that's the whole modality of this next level matrix. But I thought it was very interesting that that was named, that the first block is called Genesis and it holds all your records. And in Enoch, it talks about that there's a demon that's like in charge of uh, contracts. And I have never liked contracts. There's always been like this weird thing that I did not like about it. I've been married 2 times, and both times, just that feeling of being married really irked me. And it was like an ownership thing. And it wasn't that either of them were like really acting like that, but they would, like if we got into it or something, they'd be like, "You're my wife." And just that like irked me. And I've only had one uh credit card of my own. I got it when I was like 17. I never paid for it. Just everything that I ever did that had a contract tied to it, I never completed. And I always thought I was a loser for it. But now it's like I've been with my boyfriend for 15 years. It's every time I don't have something tying me to something, I'm just fine. It's not like I'm lazy or irresponsible or anything like that. It's just something deep in my spirit about this place and these contracts. And I think that's what it is. It's some type of awareness that I've always had, that I never went along with any of these systems. I dropped out of high school. I never liked any of this stuff. And the way that this started with that reptilian is I tore up my birth certificate with my kids' birth certificates in my mind. And that's when I like saw that Sophia robot and he had me bent over the toilet. But it was exactly timed in the script. Like my kids were not just, they were just about to, my oldest was about to turn 18. And it happened all at the right exact time. So yeah, I trust my spirit completely. I know that I know what I'm doing on different levels. It's just really frustrating to not see anything ever happen, like in our physical world, but that's not all that's going on. And I know that there are a few of us that are really aware, and that connection that we're making, I think, is more important than anything. Our connection to our own spirit and our internal eternal, and also our connection finding each other here. I've always felt like that was what we were doing. So okay, thank you, and I will add more as I think about it, but I just wanted to make this morning. That was what was on my mind. Have a good day.